Well, salutations, kindred spirits, greetings, and welcome to a bonus video. Yep, a bonus, and a big bonus it is, as dig it, I was able to convince my buddy Jason Maher, a kindred spirit if there ever was one. He's a wonderful street performer, a very talented sleight of hand expert, really. And hey, if you dig my work, you'll enjoy Jason. I'm gonna leave some links here, but here's what he's done for us. He's teaching his handling of one of my effects. So let me give you a little prologue here. About 20-something years ago, a couple of 20 years ago, I published this trick. This is a Pip Trip. This is a handling where the pips on a misprinted 4 of clubs move around. This has been released by a couple of magic dealers through the years. Maybe you've seen it in an illusionist deck, or Greg Wilson released it as Pip Streak. Those cards are still available on Penguin Magic. You can get them there. And note that I have taught my handling of this trick, not only in the book and also on my DVD set, if you want to get that. But look, you can learn it for free on YouTube. I'm going to leave a link here somewhere where you can click that and go check out my handling. But boy, I certainly recommend the piece that Jason has put together. And hey, let's take a look at Jason Maher doing his handling of Pip Trip. Take it away, bud.
Boys and girls, this is not even my channel. I'm hijacking this, and I got to thank Doug for allowing me to be on his channel to teach you guys my handling of his trick, the Pip Trip. Now guys, I got to be honest with you, this is not something that is easy to learn. This is a knuckle busting, it's very difficult sleight of hand, but if you practice it, you'll get the hang of it. So I'm going to teach this in 3 parts, but before we do, make sure that you subscribe to my boy Douglas Con if you haven't already, and subscribe to me as well, because I need it. I need that. You know, I'm desperate. I don't have 204,000 subs like he does. I'm just some amateur with my little 11K. But anyway, guys, without any further ado, let's take a look at the performance of my handling of Douglas Con's Pip Trip. Alright guys, here's an up-close and personal look at the infamous Pip Trip by Douglas J. Con. That's not even his middle initial, I just made that up. But if I just give this card here a little rub, it creates an endothermic reaction, which means I can move one of the pips along the card, baby. Now we will try that again, but let's try it short distance this time, from here to there, just like that, huh? Hopefully they're still warm enough. I think they're starting to cool off, so let's just shake it out. It should cool it and move the last one at the exact same time. Of course, we can take this card here all warped and different, and with a blow, it returns back to its original state. And that right there is Pip Trip by Douglas J. C. Con. I added an extra initial that time. Now, in order to perform this trick, you're going to need to pick up a set of Douglas's cards. These are all gaffed. You can get these from Penguin Magic. They cost like nothing, but you can also still use the routine without the gimmicked cards. You can just have the cards change one at a time instead, but I think it looks a lot better doing the actual trick. So let's dive straight into tutorial view and take a look at the setup. Alright guys, so this right here is going to be the setup. For this, you want the card with the 4 pips together placed on the bottom, and then immediately after that you want the card with 3 pips together placed directly underneath that, and then you want the card with the 2 together placed underneath the original 4 on the top. So the situation is it goes 4, then it goes the 2 pips together, and then the rest of the deck, and then you'll have the 4 pips together and then the 3 pips together on the bottom, in that order. Now the first change is actually super easy to do. It's a classic change. Di Vernon, I think, was the original teacher of this maneuver hoover, but if I'm wrong about that, don't worry, Douglas Con will correct me in the edit. Probably a little blurb here or something. Thanks, Doug. So this is all you need to do it. With your pads of your fingers, you're going to press forward the 4 that's on the top, or the topmost card. The palm of your hand is going to pull back the bottommost card, and then you're just going to essentially use your finger to align this back up and just place this on top. And that's basically how the move is done if I was to explain it in its simplest form. Now let's go into a few more details. When you push the card forward, it's actually better to do the motion in a rocking motion like this. The reason is because it eliminates that mental note of depth. Okay, so in a rocking motion, you're going to bring it like this. Okay, and this finger is going to remain in contact with the top end of that the whole time. Okay, so in one motion it looks like this. You bring the card forward a little bit as you're sort of like pretending to rub the card, then you connect with your palm, you bring this part back, and in the same motion as bringing that back, once it clears, and you've got the card free and you're using the edge of the deck to kind of control that, you want to like square this back with the deck. And now from here, if you keep this in contact with the edge of the deck, you can kind of move it around very freely like this. And you can replace it whenever you want. So you can do like a little wave and then have it change like that. Or you can have it, you know, you do the rub and then just like that it'll change. But what I like to do is I like to push the card forward, okay? I square it all up once the card is clear. And then what I actually do is I put the card on top and I necktie the deck. Necktying is when you drop the deck down at the same time as showing this hand. So in one motion it'll be like, I'll put the card on top and I'll do this. This means I can show this hand empty even though the card is already there. And then as I'm turning the hands back up, you can see I'm covering the deck again, allowing me to re-slide that top card around again. And it just creates this illusion that I have nothing in my hands and yet the pip still moves. What I do is once I place this here, I line up my fingers so I can make it look like I'm sliding the pip down. And that right there is the very first portion of the Pip Trip. Now if you're having any difficulty understanding all of that, just remember that this is a video. You can just rewind, rewatch, you'll get the hang of it. I'm trying to be crystal clear with my explanations. But anyway, let's move on to step 2. So step 2 is the card on the bottom now has to come to the top in the cleanest way possible. The way I do that is I execute a lateral palm from the bottom, so the card is here, and then I replace it to the top, and then I sort of line up and I move the pip over like that. I do it in a rotation. I don't know why, I just think it looks better. Now, to give you some more details on that, because that's it in its simplest form, what happens is I'm gripping the deck in an overhand grip. So I start off, it's in the mechanics grip, resting in my hand like this after I've completed the change. So I've done the first change, boom, and then what happens is I grip over the top and I just do some general patter, and as I'm pretending to put this back in this hand here, what happens is the pads of the fingers here will contact that bottommost card. Okay, they'll contact that and they'll slide it until it eventually turns up and into the palm. It goes almost exactly where my thumb is. I'm kind of just pressing it straight into this kind of a grip. Okay, so you can see it's probably running along the length of the pinky. If you imagine the pinky to run all the way to the bottom of your hand like that, the card is connecting with the pinky the whole way through, and my thumb is just holding it in place, which gives me a great depth illusion. I can hold that and also show all my fingers completely open, which is a really nice moment. And then to align it, what happens is I bring the deck to the card so as to avoid flashing. You don't really want to try and move this hand too much because you may make a mistake. And once you lay it back down, so once you lay it from this palm onto the card, you'll actually see it just looks super nice. You can actually do a little wave and have the card suddenly change. The way that I like to do it is once I steal the card from the bottom, so I go, so that's number 1, and then I pass it over here. I'm stealing that card, it's sliding across and into the palm. I like to point to the next one. So I say this one here I'm going to do next. I come over the top, I square everything up. I'm using my thumb as a guide because I'm kind of marking where it is, and I just put my fingers to where that pip should be. Alright, so they're covering everything, and then I just do a little turn and I kind of just slide my hand along, covering that pip the entire time until the last second. There's always an alarm in Sydney. But that's more or less the basics of the lateral palm change. I want to call it the Be Kind change by Tony Chang. Because that's basically what it is. It's the Be Kind change by Tony Chang. So that's where the credit goes. And that brings us to step number 3. Step number 3. Now step number 3 is it'll be hands down the most difficult. It is the clip shift by Chad Nelson. So, before I get into that, let me point one thing out. If you can't do the clip shift, this is the clip shift here, it's the one-handed color change like that. Very difficult to do, and if you can't do it at all, like you find it's too difficult and you want to do this trick straight away, you can actually just do the lateral palm a second time, just like this. Just like that. Right? So you can do the Be Kind change again. You don't actually have to do the clip shift. I just think it's good to break it up with a different change because it makes the whole illusion harder to perceive when every change is different. So let's go into the clip shift by Chad Nelson. Now essentially what's happening with the clip shift is you're bringing the card around the deck, and then with your pointer finger you're pulling it into alignment. That's basically what's happening. To give you more information on it though, what you need to be able to do is this. Firstly, you grip the deck with your pinky, well, at least 3 fingers except for your pointer. Your pointer is going to be curled under, and your thumb is about the bottom half of the deck closest to yourself, okay, and you're holding it pretty deep, enough so that you can curl your fingers all the way around. Now if you create a little bow with the deck, that's going to allow you to clear the deck when you're pulling this card around. So this is probably the best angle for it. What happens is I use my finger here to create a little bow on the deck, as these fingers just pull that card out. So the 2 bottom fingers are going to be pulling it out. This finger is going to be holding everything in place so that you don't drop the rest of the deck, okay? Very important that you remember this moment right here, because you'll get to this point and then this is where you'll get stuck. So what happens is you're just going to curl these in like you're making a fist with everything except for this. Like you're really flipping off the dude you hate the most, right? You're really committing to it. You're like, screw you, man! And what happens is that the card will actually click past the rest of the deck. So you can see it comes around, and then eventually it'll click past. Now what you're hoping is that it lands underneath the pointer finger. You can see it's underneath the pointer finger, because that means that if I stretch this finger out I can put that card in alignment. So once it goes under, it lands under the pointer finger, and then if I stretch my pointer finger out it pulls it into alignment, you see. But what happens is if you miss, there's actually no way to save that. Like unless you've got the most flexible hands in the world, you can't save it. So you can't afford to miss. So in order to do it, what you do is you pull this finger in as far back as it'll go, okay? In fact, you should be able to touch the pad of your thumb with it while you're doing the move. So you bring it all the way back. These fingers bring the card in, touching the pad of your thumb. I don't know if you can see that there. The card will clear and land under my pointer, and then I'm going to pull that into place using this finger as a pivot point for the card to pivot around. You'll actually see if I do it like this, you can see it's pivoting around and into place. And once you get it quick enough, once you get that move quick enough, it actually becomes an instant change, and you can do it as many times as you want. You don't even have to like realign the deck, you can just keep changing the card. But it is extremely difficult. Now with the clip shift, you can't be disheartened when you fail. I remember when I first started practicing it, I crushed a whole deck of cards with one hand because I got so mad, crushed it and threw it across the room, because it's undeniably one of the hardest things I ever had to learn. But if you do learn it, it looks amazing. So one more time on that move, you're going to be holding it like this. You're going to be bringing the card around, touching the ball of your thumb so that it can land underneath your pointer finger, and then you can see I'm just sliding that into place, and that is how you change the last portion of the card. So once you get it nice and smooth, it should just look like this, a little shake and it jumps into the corner just like that. And now we arrive at the finale of the trick. This is optional. You can just hand this out as it is, like this. What I like to do though is I like to end where we started with all the pips back in the beginning, and the beauty of it is that all 4 of the cards that you need to do so will be sat on top at this stage. What I like to typically do, sometimes I'll do a thumb count up the back until I get to those 4 cards, and then I just turn them all over together and then pull off the original card, and that's how I correct it. Another good way to do it is you can do a pinky count. I'm not going to go into it too much, but I'm sure Doug will at some point explain it to you. And that way you can take the cards there and you can do a little change like this if you want. It's visual and fixes it up. I just think it's better to turn them all over, end on a cliffhanger, and have it return to normal. You can give that to your spectator. Anyway guys, that's pretty much all there is to it. I know that sounds really complicated. It is going to be unbelievably hard to learn all of that. But if you can do it, well, kudos, my friend. Kudos. But anyway, I'm going to pass you back to my boy, Douglas Conn. I really hope you guys enjoyed that. And if you did, please do check me out on social media. And with that, I'll see you next time.
Well, there you go. That's the scoop. Such a wonderful handling. I'm sure the advanced students will be happy to see this work. And hey, if you're not an advanced student, maybe it's time to start dabbling. Regardless, we're going to send a thanks to Jason for sharing his wonderful work. And hey, if you enjoyed that, if you enjoy my stuff, chances are you're going to enjoy Jason's page as well. Give him a look, maybe a subscribe. He does fantastic, funny sleight of hand, some great tutorials. I'm sure you'll enjoy his efforts. And with that note, we're at the end of this video. I'm going to thank you once again for sharing your time, your attention, and your energy. And hey guys, I'll see you on the next one. Ciao for now.